In this section, we're going to talk about the chart of accounts. My name is Julia Shanks. I'm a recovering chef and the author of The Farmer's Office. I'm also a QuickBooks Certified Pro Advisor. I run a website called The Farmer's Office Online, and we offer videos and one-on-one coaching, tutorials on how to be financially sustainable with your farm business. In the last section, we talked about the framework behind the chart of accounts, the why we do what we do. And in this section, we're going to talk about the mechanics, the physical setting up of your chart of accounts using the things that I recommend in the first section. So we're going to go into an actual QuickBooks file. We're going to talk about how to navigate to find the chart of accounts. We're going to create new accounts. We'll talk about creating new accounts within the chart of accounts and also on the fly. We'll edit accounts, merge accounts, and we'll double check your work. So let's go into QuickBooks. So we can find the chart of accounts in several places. First of all, on the home screen, there's a little icon called Chart of Accounts. And then if we go up to the top menu, we can go under Lists and we can see Chart of Accounts here. If we go to Company, we can also see Chart of Accounts here. So you can start to see how important the chart of accounts is, that QuickBooks is going to make sure you can find it in multiple ways. And then there's also the short code to get to the chart of accounts, Shift-Command-A. So I'm going to go into the chart of accounts, and we can see our long list of accounts here. And to create a new account, you want to do the plus sign here at the bottom. You can also do Command-N on the Mac. You can do Control-N for new on PC. So we can create a new account by clicking on the plus sign. Now we first want to select the type of account. Now I'm going to create an expense account. I'm going to create an account for greenhouse supplies. So it's going to be called an expense, and I'm going to call it greenhouse supplies. And you can add a description here if it's helpful for you to remember. You know, if you want to make sure that it's greenhouse supplies as opposed to field supplies, you can make a little note. And this is just for you. And we can make it a sub-account. If we want to nest it under a broader account, I'm going to nest it under direct operating expenses. So that's going to help me keep things organized between direct operating and general and admin. And this is where we can do the tax line mapping. We talked about that earlier. If you want to help your accountant out at the end of the year, how are we going to make sure that greenhouse supplies goes into the right account on your Schedule F or Schedule C? I believe most of you are probably going to be doing a Schedule F. So you need to scroll down to where it says Schedule F and decide where this might go. And I probably supplies purchase. So I'm going to map it out to the Schedule F and supplies purchase. So that's going to help out my accountant year end. And I'll click OK. So now here you can see I have greenhouse supplies. It's nested under direct operating expenses. We can also edit accounts. So right here you can see I have chemicals purchased, and I really want that to be nested underneath direct operating. So I'm going to highlight chemicals purchased, and I'm going to click on the pencil key for edit. I can also do Command-E or Control-E if I'm working on a PC, and I can edit it. And I'm going to make it a sub-account of direct operating because I want it nested under there. Now that edit is going to change all of the transactions previously coded as chemicals purchased. I don't have to go back and reorganize all the different transactions. So this is an easy way to just kind of move things in mass over. I'm also looking down here under the general and admin, and here I see I have credit card fees for Square, and I have Stripe fees. And I'm thinking that I want to kind of merge these all together because it's confusing to see these two categories. Now, again, when we merge things, we're applying this to all previous transactions. So this is the kind of thing that's a little bit hard to undo, but I'm going to show you how to do it going forward. So first of all, I want to edit this one. I'm going to do Control-E, and I just want to call this credit card fees. I don't need to distinguish between Square and Stripe. I'm just going to call it credit card fees, and I'm going to click OK. So we have that here. Now we have Stripe fees down here. I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to call this credit card fees as well. And then we're going to get a little pop-up that says, this name is already being used. Would you like to merge them? And I want to merge them because I only want one account for credit card fees. And this is going to happen. You might forget that you have seeds and seedlings, and you might create an account called seeds. So this is a way to clean things up and, merge things together that might have been apart and shouldn't have been. So I'm going to click yes. And it's going to warn me because we can't undo this. And I'm going to say, go ahead and merge. So now I can see under my general and admin expenses, I just have credit card fees. So we can go through our chart of accounts and really clean things up and make sure things are named the way we want them to be named, and they're nested where we want to nest them.
So Julia, now that you've merged those two sources of or people that you paid credit card fees to, is it still possible to be able to, at the end of the year or at any point, to say, well, how many fees am I spending on Square versus Stripe, let's just say?
Yes. So you can certainly, when you do banking and deposits, so when we make deposits, for example, we can say payment method. So we can always see, how did we get paid for the various different Stripe versus Square.
Okay.
But great.
Good, because I can't think exactly why I would care, but it just seems like, I don't know, I kind of tended to categorize too much. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, if I can still find that out later and have a cleaner chart of accounts, okay, I'm willing to go with you.
Yes, yes. And that's a good point. Sometimes we need to balance, granularity of detail with, tight, efficient charts of accounts.
Right.
Because if we can't read our reports, it's like, and our eyes go blurry because it's 3 pages long and you can't find things, then it defeats the purpose of tracking all of these separate transactions.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So we can see the impact of our chart of accounts by going to the profit and loss statement. So we go to reports, company and financial, profit and loss standard. And we can see as we move things around, we can see here credit card fees under general and admin, and we can see, production supplies here. So we can see how things are moving around. And if we see, for example, work clothing, I have work clothing under general and admin. I think work clothing should go under direct operating expenses. That's what makes more sense to me. So we can go over here and adjust it. And I'm going to do Control E. And I'm going to make this a sub-account of direct operating instead of general and admin. And now when I go to my report, I can see that work clothing is here under direct operating expenses instead of general and admin. So reading your reports can help you see the impact of the different changes, and you can still go back and move things. You may say, you know what, I really do want work clothing under general and admin now that I look at it. And you can go back and change it. So you can go back and forth and change your chart of accounts at will. The one thing I also want to show you about the chart of accounts is that you can do it from a transaction. So let's say I'm going to write a check, and I'm going to write a check to Johnny's, and I go to Johnny's for $300, and I'm going to get row cover. And row cover is not on the account list. Do you want to set it up? And I'm going to say, sure, why not? So it's an expense. I want to make it a sub-account of direct operating. And we can do our tax line mapping if we want. I can go down to my Schedule F. I'm going to go to, where's that, supplies purchased, and I'm going to click OK. So now I have that entered in, and I just created a new account that wasn't there. So we can go through our chart of accounts and create it deliberately, or we can create them on the fly. And one of the reasons why you may want to create them on the fly is just that you don't know every expense or every transaction that you're going to want to record. And you don't have to go back to chart of accounts. You can just do it right in the middle of a transaction.
Julia, is it possible to make row cover a sub account?
Sure.
Like
Yep.
if I had a thing called direct operating expenses, growing supplies.
Sure.
And underneath it, I could have row cover, plastic mulch, T-posts,
Yep.
or whatever it is that I think of as kind of really one big hunk. But
Yep.
I do still want to know, like, how much row cover did I actually buy? Is that still possible?
Yeah, so I think about it as grandparents, parents, and children. So, direct operating expenses, the parent category, and row cover is the children. Then you could do another layer in there. So let me show you. Going back to the chart of accounts, we could make chart of accounts. We could make row cover, let's say, a subcategory of
production supplies.
Yeah.
Right. The one right above it. Yeah.
Yep. So we'll make it a subcategory of production supplies. So row cover is a sub-account of direct operating and also production supplies. So absolutely. And you can even see here how it's nested. Yep.
And then as you're keying in this purchase, as soon as you start to type in RO, whatever, it's going to auto-fill, right? It's going to pop up offer you, are you typing row cover? And you're going to be like, yes, I'm typing row cover.
Yep. Okay. Yep. So you can see RO and there it pops in.
Oh, it
row
pops
cover.
Right up. Okay.
You can autofill. So if I do work clothing, it starts to autofill ROK, and then we can just click right on over. So, if you keep an eye out on what's going on with the account and watching the autofill, and if you can touch type and not watch your fingers, you can speed along a little bit more quickly. So we just talked about the chart of accounts. We talked about how to find the navigation of your chart of accounts, creating new accounts. We can create it in the list of the chart of accounts and on the fly. We talked about editing accounts, merging accounts, and double checking your work.